Hello everyone, it's Dio from Firm But Fair Gaming, bringing you another Diablo 3 video. Today we're going to be looking at the Barbarian and we're going to be focused on the Wrath of the Waste set. So this is the top tier solo push set for the Barbarian, so we're going to be focused on it. So of course this set is based on Whirlwind and dealing and Rend dealing damage, and it's all based around that. So as you can see here, the two pieces, it increases the damage per second of Rend by 500%, and it increases its duration. Then the four pieces while you're whirlwinding and 3 seconds after, you take 50% less damage, and your applied Rend deals triple damage. And then the six pieces whirlwind gains the effect of Dust Devil Rune, and all whirlwind and Rend damage is increased by 10,000%. So all that to mean basically Rend is doing all of your damage, Whirlwind is how you stay alive, and the set is completely based around that, and there's a few items that you need in order to maximize its effectiveness. So there are a couple different items you can use in this build. Initially, while you're first gearing up, you will probably want to use the Balkatha set weapons, so the Warrior's Blood and Solomon's Vow. So this just basically increases your Fury generation, and during Whirlwind you have increased attack, speed, and movement. So it basically helps you spin indefinitely. As you get more items, you will want to move away from it. So there is a different items that you could use. You could use Slander and Little Rogue, which is this set. But with Season 24, because of the introduction of the ethereal weapons, there is mainly one weapon choice that I've seen. So there's two options for it. So you're going to be looking for the Grandfather, and the one option is here, as you can see, increases damage against elites by 50%, and you gain passive. So basically, it gains the benefit of the furnace, as well as it has other buffs in here, like 200% damage to all barbarian skills. It has critical strike, attack speed, plus X% damage. So stuff like that. So this is the preferred weapon for this set. There is another variation on it. So the other variation down here is basically it has attacking with Whirlwind also applies Rend, and the damage of Rend is dealt over 1 second instead of over the 15. So basically that is Ambo's Pride. So because I am wearing the furnace version of the Grandfather in my cube, I have Ambo's Pride. And I'll get more into the skills in your cube and all that later in the video, but I just wanted to first touch on the items. So that is the weapon that you are looking for. Ethereals drop pretty well. I know the drop rate is supposed to be between Ancient and Primal, but as you can see just from me farming rifts and whatnot, regular rifts and greater rifts, I have actually quite a lot of them. So there's different types. So some of these are for other sets, but I'm just focusing on the Wrath of the Waste set, which is why I'm just looking at the Grandfather. So over time, you should be able to farm it. And those are the top two variations that you would like. And then you just need to, because you can't change this or reforge the item, what you see is what you get when it drops. So this is the RNG that we're after to get a high plus damage roll, the right affixes on it, so Whirlwind or sorry, Ambo's Pride or the Furnace, as well as high crit chance and the high cooldown so that we can use all our abilities quicker. Moving on from that, because I don't want to spend too much time on that, the other pieces that benefit the build are we need Mortix Brace for the bracers. So this is Wrath of Berserker gains every rune. So this helps us deal more damage and add survivability while our Wrath of Berserker is up. We need 100% need to have Band of Might. So this is after casting Furious Charge or Ground Stop or Leap, we take reduced damage, and it's between 60 and 80%. So we want to try to get that as high as possible. The other one is we want COE, so Convention of Elements. Of course, this is a big damage boost for us when it goes through physical, because that's what Rend does, is physical damage. For the belt, we are using Lamentation because Rend can now stack up to 2 times on an enemy, and the damage of Rend is increased by up to 150%. And then for the neck, I am using Squirts. So this is, of course, while not taking damage, we deal up to 100% increased damage, and damage taken is increased by up to 50%. So what we really want to have on the neck is mine is not ideal. Ideally, we would like the physical damage. Then we would like critical hit damage and critical hit chance. I haven't found that yet, which is why I'm wearing this one. And then those are the random pieces that go with our build. What the follower has is we want, of course, for the Oculus ring. So this, while we kill a monster, it gets a chance to generate a circle, which is going to increase our damage by up to 85%. And you want to stand in that as often as possible. We would like our follower to wear the Flavor of Time because it emanates. So that means that when we hit a pylon, we get the benefit for twice as long. So we definitely want them to be wearing that. And we also want them to be wearing the Nemesis bracers. So as we click the pylons, we get that extra elite, which will help us clear the rifts quicker. So, and then the other pieces that we need in here to complete the build is we would like Amble's Pride. So again, this is attacking with Whirlwind, also applies Ren, and the total damage of Ren is dealt over 1 second. So that's a big DPS up. So we either need it in the cube or we need it on our ethereal weapon. The shoulders, or sorry, the armor is we're using Mantle of Channeling. So while channeling Whirlwind, we deal 25% increased damage and we take 25% less damage. And then for the ring, in order to be able to ground stomp or leap or use our Wrath of the Berserker as often as possible, we are using Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. So every time we attack a target with Whirlwind, it speeds up or it takes 1 second off the cooldown. So we're using that. An alternative that I guess I should mention is while we're leveling up, if we don't have all these pieces and our survivability is a little bit in question, you can use restraint and focus. So this is when you hit with a resource generating attack or primary skill, you deal 50% increased damage. And when you hit with a resource spending attack, you deal 50% increased damage. So you'll be getting that extra buff. So if you're having some survivability issues as well as some damage or missing some pieces, you can use that as well. So when I was gearing up, I was using this set of restraint and focus with the Bokathos weapons while I was waiting to get the appropriate weapons that I needed. For our abilities, so what we want is, so you can organize these however you want, but we need to have Rend. This is how we're dealing our damage. So we need to have it. So Rend, and I'm using Bloodbath as the rune. So that's, of course, physical. So enemies killed while bleeding cause all enemies within 10 yards to begin bleeding for 1100% weapon damage as physical over 5 seconds. Now that damage is applied instantly due to like Amble's Pride in our set buff and all that stuff. I'm using Ground Stomp with Wrenching Smash. So smash the ground, pulling all enemies within 24 yards to you, then stunning them for 4 seconds. This helps us apply Rend to all the targets that we're trying to kill, as well as procs our Band of Might so that we don't die. For Whirlwind, we're using Hurricane. So this pulls enemies towards us up to 35 yards away while we're whirlwinding. So this, and it also increases our move speed. So this helps us pull things together so we don't have to chase them around, and just helps us start stacking the Ren damage. For Wrath of the Berserker, I have Insanity on here. So it's a 2-minute cooldown, enter Berserker Rage, which raises several abilities attributes for 20 seconds. Our critical hit chance, attack speed, dodge, movement. And while it's active, we gain 50% increased damage. So of course, we're using Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac to reduce that cooldown as much as possible so that we are in that, so we can have this up as often as possible. And we also want to stack cooldown as well. And I'll go over that after this. We are also using Battle Rage with Swords to Plowshares. So enter Rage, which increases your damage by 10% and your critical hit chance. It lasts for 2 minutes. And also critical hits heal you and your pets up to 21,000. So that just helps us deal damage and keeps us alive. There is a slight variation on this last talent. So I'm using Veterans or Warcry with Veterans Warning. So it increases my armor and as well as my dodge chance while it's active. You can also use Ancient Spear with Rage Flip. So this helps you drag things along as through the dungeon and helps you just apply keep the Ren stack going and drag something that's weak and you drag it into the next pack. It dies and it applies Ren to everything else. So it kind of just helps you deal damage along as you go. I've been finding I've had a little bit of survivability issues, so I've been using Warcry with Veterans Warning. For our passives, I'll focus on the main ones that you should have. So Nerves of Steel, so if you take fatal damage instead, it just reduces you to 15% life for 3 seconds, and it gives us that 95% damage reduction. This can't occur more than once every 60 seconds. Relentless, while below 35% life, all skills cost 50% less, and all damage taken is also reduced by 50%. And then we have Boon of Bokathas, so reduces the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker by 30 seconds, so that takes it from 2 minutes down to 90 seconds, so a minute and a half. We also should have Rampage, so increase strength by 1% for 8 seconds after killing or assisting in kill of an enemy, and it stacks up to 25 times. So that could potentially, if we're on a roll, give us up to a 25% bonus. I currently don't have it on because my weapon has it. My ethereal weapon has the Rampage. So then I've been using Animosity just to increase my Fury generation, because that is one thing I noticed that I'm a little bit Fury starved on this build. So I just have that as well. I've been playing around with some other ones, but that's the one that I'm using right now. And so yeah, these are the skills that you would want to have set up for this build. So the last thing that I would like to cover is the stat priority. So of course our main stat is strength, so that will always be number 1. And then after that, we want to stack critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and then we would also like some cooldown. And where possible, we want to stack our rend as well. So on our helmet, we would ideally want to have strength and vitality, and then critical hit chance. On our shoulders, we could possibly get, you want rend damage for sure, and if possible, you would also like to get cooldown reduction if you can. So if possible, and you have lots of Paragon, and you get like a roll like this that had rend on it, as well as resist all and vitality and strength, you could consider rolling off the strength into cooldown reduction because it's all Paragon. Mind you, you could do the same with the vitality because it's just Paragon realignment after the fact. So we definitely want the rend on our shoulders. On our gloves, we want critical hit damage and critical hit chance. And then we could also roll cooldown reduction here. I have vitality on right at the moment, only just due to my survivability that I'm running into. But you could easily have cooldown reduction here, which would be really good. The chest is where we will apply our next rend bonus here. So you'll want rend on that. Our bracers, we want to have physical damage on it as well as a critical hit chance. Those are our two best stats here. So you will want that. You need it, like the not having the physical on here or the critical hit chance is just such a DPS loss that you will absolutely want to find an item that has that. On our neck, since I missed it, we want physical damage as well as we would like critical hit damage and critical hit chance. I obviously don't have it on my neck yet, but I'm trying to find it. So as soon as I get that, I will be wearing it. For our COE, we would like to have, I have strength on this. You could also have cooldown reduction and then critical hit damage and critical hit chance. But if you have to choose between them, I would pick critical hit damage and critical hit chance and then roll cooldown if you can. On our belt, it's a survivability belt. Basically, take whatever has the highest unique modifier on it, as well as the best survival stats. And this is where you're going to pick up some survivability. So just focus on that. For the Band of Might, so the reason you pick you don't put the Obsidian Ring here is because you can get like all these like critical hit damage, critical hit chance, whereas the Obsidian Ring, you're kind of restricted. You'll not be able to get all the rolls that you want on it. So here I could, if the idea roll would be if I could get cooldown on here as well as critical hit damage and critical hit chance. For the pants, it's another just survivability. So we want high strength, high vitality, and ideally I would have liked to have resist all here instead of armor. Strength converts into armor, so ideally we would have wanted to have resist all because that is one of our weak points. So I will be looking for a replacement there. On our boots, we want survivability here as well. So I do not have an ideal pair of boots, but I do have the resist all. Ideally, you could get all four, so you could have strength, vitality, plus armor and the resistance, and ideally that's what I'll be looking for in the future. And then on the weapon, because it's the ethereal blade and it's kind of fixed based on RNG on how it drops, we're focused on we want to either have the furnace benefit, so increased damage against elites, or the Ambos Pride benefit, where it's attacking with Whirlwind also applies rend. And we are just looking for the highest stats possible. So the plus damage we want to be as close to 100%. Same with attack speed, we want near 20%. Critical hit chance, 10% would be lovely. And same with cooldown reduction at 10% would be awesome. And that's mainly what we're looking for. And then the unique affix, because this is the furnace, we of course want it closer to 50% than 40. And that would round out all the stats that we're looking for. So that completes the guide that we have here for the Season 24 Barbarian Wrath of the Waste set. It is, as I mentioned earlier, the top tier solo pushing set for the Barbarian. I've enjoyed it so far, and I imagine that it will stay top throughout the rest of the season. It was the top for the last few seasons. I can't see that changing, and I've tested out some of the other sets, and it just does not seem to have the same pushing power. As always, if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below. And as always, we appreciate any likes and subscribes. And of course, you can find us on Twitch. Have a good one.